Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of my F1 2018 career mode video for you guys today here on the channel. So we are here for the German Grand Prix around Hockenheim, so the track that came back onto the calendar, of course, for this year, and is obviously now going to be on the calendar again in 2019 after a very successful year in regards to attendance and ticket sales for the circuit itself. But as you can see, then having a look at the R&D chart, you can see that we're taking massive strides now in the development race ahead of Red Bull and Ferrari. And that is the overall plan. We're trying to make literally the mightiest of Mercedes as possible. As you can see then, having a look at the season results, we've actually been doing very, very good this season. We've won 6 races out of the 10 or 11 races that are in so far. So we've been doing a fabulous job so far. And as you can see, we're going straight into qualifying and into Q1. We'd set ourselves a 112.8. It was 8 tenths off the pace, but it's only Q1 at the end of the day, so there's nothing major on that front. Heading into the German Grand Prix, I was starting to realise that overall the pace was a lot better than the British Grand Prix. We're much more competitive than at Silverstone. However, I think overall I just put a little bit too little downforce on the car. Definitely was struggling to really get the car to turn into the corners. You can see here in the final corner in Q2, I just didn't quite get it right. In the first sector, I was always lapping the fastest out of anybody, and then eventually that pace would drop off in the middle and final sectors. So definitely made an error with the setup here at the German Grand Prix, but nonetheless, if we can get in front in the race, or if we can stay with them during the race, we're going to have a fabulous opportunity to potentially gain a lot of places with overtaking, because we're going to be very slippery in a straight line. It's Q3, and as you can see, once again, going horribly wide in towards the final corner. That cost us some time, and across the line, we managed to go half a second off the pace. But with that being said, and an awful final sector, there was more to gain. And as we head through into the final sector here, you can see the delta time goes shooting up over 3-4 tenths of a second now. As we cross that start-finish line, it is going to be P4 on the grid here for the German Grand Prix. That's not a bad qualifying result. We probably would have wanted a bit more from our lap. But we gave everything we could, and as you can see, Hamilton gets pole position, and he's over half a second a lap quicker than us. So, yeah, he's still really up the ante in this second part of the season, and we need to try and keep up with that, and try and find a way to respond overall, really. But as you can see, gathering our resource points, and also trying to gain some reputation back within the team, because it has dropped ever so slightly after our poor race. But without further ado, let's get into the German Grand Prix.
There's nowhere at all I'd rather be today than here at Hockenheim for the German Grand Prix. We have an incredibly competitive field this year, which means we should be in for a treat. And judging by the sea of people filling the grandstands, there's a fair-sized chunk of Germany that agrees with me. With average lap speeds of around 130 miles per hour, the Hockenheim ring is a quick circuit with a lap distance of 2.8 miles, around 17 corners. The main DRS zone through Parabolica leads into the hairpin for the best overtaking opportunity on the track. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about Thomas. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Thomas, Kimi Raikkonen and Verstappen, Alonso, Hülkenberg, Perez and Carlos Sainz, Magnussen, Grosjean, Esteban Ocon and Leclerc, Gasly, Ericsson, Lance Stroll and Sergei Sorokin. Hartley and Stoffel van Dorn completes the grid.
Alright, so we're now heading towards the grid here for the German Grand Prix. And it's going to be a bit of a mixed race, actually, for this track. We're going to be experiencing some wet weather, so we're going to be starting on the ultra-soft tyres, hopefully then taking those to the intermediate tyres, and then going to the end of the race. So it's going to be rather interesting, and it's going to be exciting, nonetheless. So as you can see, then we're on the grid here to start this German Grand Prix off. We've got 4, now 5 red lights from P4. It is lights out away we go here to start the German Grand Prix. It's not been a good start for Hamilton up front. He's had a bad getaway there. Ricciardo alongside now as we head towards the first corner here. And as you can see, we dart our way past Daniel Ricciardo and up into P3 in this Grand Prix now. And as you can see, we're onto the back of Lewis Hamilton and also Sebastian Vettel now in the Ferraris. We'll make our way down in towards turn 2. We have a little look at the Ferrari and we go for it down the inside, but we sort of back ourselves out of it. Wasn't quite the cleverest thing, but we swoop around the outside. We go onto the grass a little bit there, so really aggressive play early on from all of us here as we fly now down the straight here. We've got Hamilton on the inside, Vettel now trying to get his way through as well, trying to make it 3 wide here. Sparks flying from all the cars as we go down into the hairpin here, up the inside now, and we give Hamilton a little snudge wide there, and that is us up into the lead of the German Grand Prix. A perfect start to the Grand Prix, and Vettel now is in front of Hamilton, but he's on the soft tyres crucially, so he's doing a different strategy. But with the rain incoming, that's not really a clever call. The rain has already started falling. We're on to lap 2 of the Grand Prix. Hamilton goes to the outside line now to fight Vettel here, and as you can see, Hamilton makes that one stick quite easily on the back of Sebastian. Sebastian, he does actually hold this one on, so he's still fighting this one as Vettel now swoops down in towards this next complex of corners. Hamilton, however, is just able to carry that much more speed. He goes down the inside. Vettel there is dropping into 3rd place in this Grand Prix, but that's not the only position he's going to drop, because he's going to drop a bit more now because Daniel Ricciardo fancies a run on Sebastian Vettel. The DRS has been enabled now, and this is going to be a much easier move for Ricciardo. And as you can see, he goes towards the hairpin now, and he goes down the inside. You see Hamilton there is closing up to the back of myself as well. So as you can see, the 2 Mercedes cars pulling off into the distance at this stage of the race, but we can't continue to settle down because obviously the rain is incoming as Verstappen now heads towards the inside line here. On Vettel has a look there, but he decides to wait. So another lap later, looking right on the back of the Ferrari now, and as you can see, Verstappen here moves over to the inside line once again. Vettel does defend that one quite heavily, but eventually he realizes he's in a losing battle at the moment using these soft tyres. The problem is he can't get them up to any form of temperature. The soft tyres would be better in this stage of the race when the rain is falling down, but when you can't get temperature early on, that's not really a good idea. Onto lap 4 of the Grand Prix now, and it is time for the intermediate tyres. We need to stop and make a set of inters on the car, because obviously it is now raining heavily to the point where it is part of the crossover phase. And as you can see, we're now coming to the final sector. You can see that the grip levels have just gone at this stage in the race. We're really struggling now, and we're coming in for our first stop of the Grand Prix. And as you can see, we go off into the gravel a little bit there, but we make our way and we press towards the pit lane now, and we're coming in, getting a set of intermediates on the car. We need them, and from there obviously we can go ahead and get ourselves a fresh set of tyres. But as you can see, this is the start of the downfall for the German Grand Prix. We built ourselves a nice gap actually out front, but it made no difference whatsoever because we have been held for about 20 seconds probably. Not 20 seconds, a bit over exaggeration, but we've been held for God knows how long, and we've dropped all the way down the order. Somehow we're only in P9. I thought we'd be a bit lower than that, but we're down in 9th place, and that pretty much has all but thrown our opportunities of a race win or a potential podium out of the window. We may obviously be in P9 in the Grand Prix, but we've got a long way to go. Moving on to lap 8 of the Grand Prix now. We're onto the back of Kevin Magnussen and our recovery drive now. It's going to have to be the same thing as the British Grand Prix. We're just going to have to try and recover it now. We can't do any more. We did a great start. We were in great contention to fight Hamilton and build ourselves an advantage because we had the pit stop a lap early. Doesn't make a difference here. Now we're onto the back of Kevin Magnussen, and we've got to work to try and get past him here. With the DRS disabled, it's not going to be as easy, but obviously we've got a much better car in terms of the straight line package, so we go down the inside of Magnussen in towards the hairpin, but we've outbroken ourselves here, gone too deep into the hairpin, and a mistake there has left Magnussen just laughing in our face as we now have to settle down back into our position. But now we've got a great run on Magnussen, and we're going to brake nice and late here, go down the inside of Magnussen, get pinched a little bit slightly, but he sort of moves out of the way a little bit. He was sort of a bit concerned about my intentions there, so sorry about that, K-Mag, didn't mean to frighten you there. But we're now up into 6th place. Now we're catching Fernando Alonso for P5 in this Grand Prix, and as you can see here, we're trying to find our way past him. We're much quicker, but Alonso defends the inside, which means that we're going to have to go to the outside here and try and make this move on Alonso. It doesn't quite work for us, but we've set ourselves up nicely. Back end, a little bit slidey there, but eventually you can see that we've set ourselves up perfectly for the run now on the straight here. Overtake mode with the ERS, and we absolutely breeze past the McLaren. He's got no chance in a straight line. and next up the road is Nico Hülkenberg in the Renault, and then we're up into P4 in the Grand Prix, and then we'll be looking to try and get past the Red Bull, the Ferrari, and my teammate Lewis Hamilton. So we're making some good progress in this Grand Prix, but we still need to keep pushing hard. So we've got a lot of work to do in this race, and on to lap 13 in the Grand Prix, we've now closed up to the back of Hülkenberg, making nice progress. We've dropped Fernando Alonso as well, so we're doing good on that front as well. We've left Fernando Alonso behind, which means that the pace is there. Obviously, in the British Grand Prix, we had no pace against these cars, but this race in the German Grand Prix, we have now got the pace, and with the overtake enabled on our car, and with obviously no DRS enabled for us, unfortunately, we're just going to have to get it done on the track. But as you can see, closing up to Hülkenberg, we are going to make this move stick down the inside into the hairpin, being a little bit more cautious on the brakes, but eventually on the second half of the braking, we managed to put a little bit more into it in terms of carrying the speed, and there you can see we're now up into 4th place in this Grand Prix, in front of Nico Hülkenberg, and that's us done and dusted. And next up the road is Max Verstappen for P3. On to lap 16 of the Grand Prix now, and the tyres had gone off at this point. I was really struggling with them. I was losing grip. I was losing time to Verstappen. So I decided to come in for a stop onto a new set of intermediate tyres. And obviously the rain was still falling, so that wasn't really a problem for myself. I just decided, you know, let's get in. Let's get a fresh set of boots going and get ourselves out back on the track. This time, a nice normal pit stop. So obviously we did a 34 second pit stop last time around. So let's see if we come out of the pits now. That was a 17.9 second pit stop. So we basically did, in effect, when we were stuck in the pits the first time around, we in fact did 2 pit stops for the price of just 1. So in theory, we pretty much done 3 stops in this race because it felt that long after doing like a 34 second pit stop. We really got messed up in that first stage of the race. Now we're 8.5 seconds behind Ricciardo in P7, but the rain is still going. We got intermediates on, they're nice and fresh, so we should be very, very fast, and that is what we want to be doing, making sure that we're quick so we can try and get past these cars once again. But unfortunately, wasn't the smartest idea in the world. Lap 19 of the Grand Prix now, and we've actually got one of the Renault cars that's got an issue in front. As we come out through now, it's Nico Hülkenberg that's got a problem, and he's actually been spun round. So Hülkenberg there getting into a fight with somebody, but it's not quite worked out for him. He's lost out there, and he's unfortunately got into a battle that I don't think he wanted to be in. But eventually, on to lap 20, so a lap later, the rain stopped falling. So that basically meant that the pit stop that we did was a waste of time, really, because we've now pitted for a 3rd time in this Grand Prix. It's a clean pit stop again, but we just didn't need it. We really didn't. I mean, it's just not gone well for us this Grand Prix. If we managed to just stay out and just drag those tyres, the problem was, though, we had to drag them another 5-6 laps. I really couldn't see them going that long. So, I don't know. Nothing really has gone to plan in this race, but now we're in P7. Next up is Fernando Alonso. We've got DRS enabled this time. We go down the inside on Fernando Alonso, and that's another position for us. Up into P6, Ricciardo is up ahead, and he is in P5. We're just going to try and overtake him. Let's see what we can do. Just get the positions, keep pressing, and we're not giving up in this Grand Prix. We're just giving it everything we can. And onto the back of Daniel Ricciardo here. Says lap 24 of 34. Now we're pressing on the back of this Red Bull car, and, well, this is kind of a waste of time for Ricciardo, to be honest. I'm not even in rich mixture, but I've just got so many juicy little toys on my back pocket there. Through and around past Daniel Ricciardo. Probably the easiest move I'm going to make all race, and that's Raikkonen in front. But however, he did get held up, so I don't really know what his pace is respective to mine, especially on the soft tyres. We're going to try and catch him up if we can, but we need to save fuel, crucially. On to lap 26 of the Grand Prix, and that fuel saving is not helping me. Raikkonen's pulling away, and now Ricciardo is coming back for a little bit more. I don't think he's happy that he's behind me, so as you can see, he's now trying to attempt an overtake here as we go now up into the 8th gear here. Ricciardo goes over towards the outside line. He breezes past us, obviously using that rich mix, ERS, overtake and everything like that. But we managed to carry a bit more speed in the second half of the braking zone, and we're up in front of Ricciardo once again for P5. And that is going to be the last that we see of Ricciardo, because I believe he got a puncture, I think it was, or something like that made him have to stop again. Lewis Hamilton, however, wins the German Grand Prix, so that's a 2nd win in a row for Lewis Hamilton, and for the 2nd race in succession, it's been another dismal performance, but unfortunately for this race, this was really no fault of my own. We crossed the line to finish in P5. The first pit stop was just a nightmare. We just got held up. We couldn't do anything about that. We just couldn't quite take the intermediate tyres the full distance that I wanted to, so we had to just make an extra stop here and there. So pretty much in effect we did 4 pit stops and we finished in P5. The pace was there, but Honestly, we missed out on a podium today, which we should have got, and we now haven't been on the podium for the last 2 races, so we've really dropped off in form after the Austrian Grand Prix. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do if we are to try and continue in this championship fight, because Hamilton, with winning 2 races in a row, and me finishing in P7 and P5, really hasn't helped us in this stage of the race. So Lewis Hamilton picks up the win today, and he beats Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen to the win here today. And as you can see, Hamilton there celebrating with the trophy, and it's starting to make me more and more jealous that he's up there and that I'm not up there. But I'm actually loving it right now, because the fact is my teammate in F1 2018, he's not terrible, he's not constantly slower. You know, Lewis Hamilton is really now pushing me in this championship. In the first half of the season, I was pretty much under full control, whereas now in the second half of the season, when I've now found an AI difficulty which works for me and is very competitive, it is now really difficult. And as you can see, he picks up a well-deserved race win. But as you can see then, there's the full race results for you today. So it's been a good performance from us today. And there's Ricciardo with his pit stop again, unfortunately, so he dropped out of the points. That gave Fernando Alonso P6 overall. But as we look at the standings then, the gap has now dropped to 16 points in the World Championship, and just like that, the championship is now literally 1 race win apart. So it is now extremely close between myself and Lewis Hamilton. In the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes do pull away from Ferrari just by 4 points in the race. And now we've got one final interview with Claire once again, and going through her questions. So she's talking, the first one is about Max Verstappen. Now, of course, Verstappen, well, she said that I came out on top, but Verstappen actually beat me because he got a podium. So I'm just going to say that the car was amazing, to be honest. In terms of the wet weather conditions, now this one was a difficult one to answer, because I didn't want to say that I hated the rain. So I wanted to sort of go on a sportsmanship level, because I set my car up for the dry, not for the wet. So I had very good straight line speed, but overall the car just wasn't working in the wet. Because as I said, you know, I lost a couple of tenths in the second sector, then a couple in the final sector, and that cost me obviously in qualifying. And then in the race, when you need even more grip levels that I don't necessarily have, that's where the sort of lack of pace came from in that scenario in the wet weather. But overall, it is what it is. We managed to beat Max Verstappen in the rivalry, so that's a good thing for us. We managed to beat him. That's our first rival that we've beaten so far this season, so that's a bit of a motivational boost there that we can take from that. But we're still losing the rivalry to Hamilton, and I think we're going to lose it again for a second time. So we now have 2,300 resource points, and we increase our reputation with Mercedes-Benz ever so slightly. But that's going to be it then for this F1 2018 career mode video around the German Grand Prix here at Hockenheim. And as you can see, Emma is talking about Williams being interested in us. But at the end of the day, I don't really have an interest with Williams, so that's kind of out of the picture there. So if you guys have enjoyed today's episode, hopefully you have. It'd be great if you could drop a like on the video. If you're new around here as well and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, feel free to subscribe if you so wish to as well. Having a look then at the development front for the final time here. Going to do some more work on the aerodynamic, and we're going to try, I was going to try and get front and rear, but I couldn't quite get that, so I think I went with the rear downforce for this one, and then I decided to go ahead and get some roll dampers done. I want to improve the tyre wear because it's not quite good as of yet. I just need a little bit more on the tyre wear, and the more upgrades that I do, when it comes to a potential regulation change, it may mean that we ruin a lot of the car. But anyway, guys, we also do something to the durability as well, just using up the resource points. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care all.